Hey gang, this is Mike with My Real Estate Dojo and my friend Rob, if I'm not mistaken, let me see on Facebook. Yep, Rob. He asked me, hey Mike, can you explain more about what is a subject to and the good and bads about a subject to? So I have tons of video about subject to on my YouTube channel, but I'm gonna do a quick run through putting all these videos together for you. If you need more detailed information, get on my YouTube channel. I will give you specific titles that you could pull up for specific information. So let's go ahead and pull the curtain back and dive in. Rob, thank you so much for that question, and I'm gonna go ahead and answer it right now. All right, what is a subject to? A subject to is one type of creative financing. Is in the category of what I call owner financing. There's 7 different types of owner financing you can do. Refer back to my YouTube channel under 7 different types of owner financing for you to get to more detail. But a subject to is one type of owner financing. So instead of 7, it's just one type. There's 6 more of owner financing deal, where you're having the seller owner carry, or you're having the seller do owner financing, or you're having the seller lend you the money. What I just said, all 3 of them are basically the same thing. So simply put, subject to is a way to buy real estate property without getting money from a lender, without borrowing money from hard money lending, without borrowing money from private money. You're not doing any of that. What you're doing is you're just taking over the seller's existing mortgage. And the way that happens is that whenever you go to closing, all you do is you step into the seller's shoes and you just make the monthly payments to the seller's underlying lender. Let's say if the lender is Bank of America, now you start making payments to the Bank of America. So what is a subject to? Let me explain one more time. Simply put, is a way to buy properties using creativity, imagination, without using your own money, without going to a bank, without borrowing money from anybody besides the seller himself. Okay? And the seller's now lending you money, you're just taking over his existing mortgage, guys, and you're just making the payments on the property. So, what are some of the benefits or the good of subject to? I mentioned many of it, but here we go. The number 1 is that you don't have to have good credit. If you have good credit, great, but it doesn't matter, okay? Number 2 is that you don't have to go borrow money from a professional bank or hard money lending or private money or anything like that. Number 3 is that you don't have to put your social security number up, and if you default, it doesn't hurt your credit, which is very, very powerful. Plus, your debt to income ratio is not affected, because when somebody pulls your social security number, that debt that you bought as a subject to is not attached to your social number. If you're a corporation like LLC or Inc., then you will have an EIN number, employee identification number. So your company EIN number is not identify with this debt, okay? Which is very, 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 very powerful, guys. Very, very powerful, okay? So the benefit of that is that, let's say, if you happen to default, if you don't make the payments on the property, the seller's remedy is just to take over the property or take over the collateral, and they can't come and hurt your credit and ruin your credit or sue you, okay? Now, that brings me to the next point. I love subject twos because I negotiate what's called a non-recourse loan. And what that means is where if I default, the seller cannot come sue me, or they cannot come hurt my credit. All they can do is go after the collateral, in this case the house, okay? So they can just foreclose on the house, take all the equity, all the payments I made, all the rehab I've done, they can just take that if I happen to default, but I'm not gonna default. But if I did, their only remedy is to take over the collateral. Where if you go, let's say, to a Bank of America and you're an investor, or if you're just a home buyer, resale home buyer, and you get a loan from Bank of America, you got to sign a promissory note that says that, hey, if you default, they're going to hurt your credit, plus they can sue you. And then 2, you got to sign something called a DOT, deed of trust, which says, hey, if you default, that the bank take over the property. So what I do is when I negotiate with motivated sellers, I do a non-recourse loan where if I default to the seller could only take the collateral and not come after me. Now, let me pause a second, guys. It's very crucial that if you tell the seller you're going to do something, that you go ahead and do it. I'm not recommending for you guys to take over properties if you can't make the fucking payments, because that's fucking bullshit. I'm teaching you guys to do what the fuck you say you're gonna do. So if you're gonna say you're gonna make somebody's payment, you better make sure you're fucking in a position to make someone's payments, guys, because these sellers believed in you. These sellers trusted you. Like for me, my family, my friends didn't trust me, so these sellers trusted me with their credit, and I'm gonna do everything in my fucking power to make the payments on time, month after time, no matter what. If that means I have to live on the fucking street, then that's what it's gonna be. If I can't make the payments, I'm gonna make sure that I can pay my seller's payments before I can make my house payments. Okay, so that's the way I'm at, and that's the way I want to teach you guys. So coming back to the story, so more other advantages besides a non-recourse loan, besides you don't have to use your own credit, besides that you don't have to use your own social security number. The process is very fucking simple, dude. I mean, it's like you don't have to get it pre-approved. You don't have to jump through all these hoops. It's very easy, dude. It's just like the seller says, yes, I want to do it, and you guys do the deal. And the next reason, the benefit of a subject to is that it's fucking fast. A traditional list, closing may take 30 days, 45 days, where in the subject to, you can get the ownership of the property 48 hours. How fast your attorney or your title company can close will determine how fast you get the deal. Excuse me, guys. Let me drink some of my watermelon juice. Excuse me. So, let me see if I can pick up any other pros. So we talked about the non-recourse loan. You don't have to use your social security number. It's fast. It's easy. And you could usually negotiate, here's the other part. The interest rate, okay, what I say is negotiate, it's like an interest rate. When you're an investor and you want to go buy a property, if you don't live in the property, if you're not owner occupied, then you're going to have to pay a lot more higher interest rate than if you live in the property. So when you buy properties subject to, you're buying at lower interest rate than if you had a commercial loan. So this is very, very powerful, guys, okay? There's so many fucking benefits of a subject to. Another benefit of subject to is that, for example, let's say you meet a motivated seller, you buy their home, and they've been in the house for 10 years already, and they have a 30-year mortgage. So guess what? They have a 30 years mortgage. They already paid off 10 of it, so they only have 20 more years to go, okay? So you're already stepping into almost finishing the race because you're already 10 years into the process, okay? Which is great because now you're paying the principal deduction a lot faster with your payments. Which brings me to the next point. When you buy a property subject to, all the interest are paid on the loan because of the amortization. What the bankers came up with of the amortization period is the first few years, the first 5-7 years, you're paying all the interest to the bank only. So if you're paying $1,000 a month, let's say your mortgage PITI is $1,000. Out of that $1,000, this much of it is going to principal reduction, and this much of it is going to paying the bank's interest off. So when you step into the seller's shoes 10 years later, you already are so much ahead than that seller was, which is very, very powerful, guys. Okay? So these are some great positive reasons why I love subject twos. Sorry, I'm just freestyling this. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't forget anything else, guys. If anything else comes, I'll let you know. So these are the positives, okay? Now, let me talk about a couple of negatives. I really don't think there's any negatives, but I'm going to highlight the ones that are just there, okay? Number one, the due on sell, okay? In a deed of trust, DOT, there's a clause in there that says due on sell. And what that basically means is that when the seller conveys or transfers his ownership to somebody else and they don't cash out the underlying mortgage, the lender has the right to accelerate the note and foreclose on the seller. That can happen. Out of all the rental properties that I own that I buy subject to, has never ever happened to me, thank God. Okay, but I don't think the risk is high. I think it's very, 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 very little. I have a lot higher chance of driving from here to the gym and getting a car wreck than the lender calling your note, dude. And there's a lot of reasons for that. If you want more information about the due on sell clause and how to protect yourself, get on my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube on how to insure these properties. I have a YouTube video just talks about the due on sell clause, and why I don't think the lender's going to call the notes on after all these deals I've done. So get on my YouTube channel and look for those videos that explain about some of the bad or the risk factors of a due on sell. But again, in my mind, it's very, very low. I love subject twos. If you got a deal, bring it to me, guys. Okay, and so that's one. But I think it's very, very low. That's nothing. That to me, that's not a fear at all. The number two problem, which has happened to me, so pay attention. This is good. Okay, out of all the deals I have, only had one problem. One person that had a problem with, and that's that. I bought a house from a seller. They were very motivated. They were going through a divorce. At that time, they were behind 2 or 3 months. When I bought it, everything, they were happy. A little bit later on, they got back together with their husband and wife, and they didn't get a divorce. They got back together, and then they wanted the property back. But at this time, I already had renters in there. We couldn't do that. So they were having a hard time getting a home to buy. But again, since I made their payments on the property on time, I show them how to help them to get a loan, and I provide the evidence for them to be able to qualify for a new home, even though they have sold their home with a subject to, okay? So what happens is after a couple more years after that, the seller situation again has changed, and they were calling me and saying, hey, when are you going to sell this home? When are you going to sell this home? When are you going to sell this home? Okay. So the thing that I think is the most risk, this only has happened to me one time, okay, is that you may buy a property from a motivated seller, and if your exit strategy is not to like sell it in 7 years, then if your exit strategy is to hold on forever, that motivated seller maybe in 10 years not going to be motivated anymore, and they may want to come up and say, hey, can you sell the property because I really want to buy another home, or it's fucking up my debt to income ratio. So I think that's the only problem, but it didn't. At the end of the day, thank God it ended up good for me. Nothing bad had happened, but that was the only thing that I was like, wow, next time, dude, I'm going to make sure I do X, Y, and Z to make sure the seller understands. And if you want to know what X, Y, and Z is, join the dojo, and I'll be happy to share you my trade secret cream of the cream from the mistakes I've made, okay? But now I have a way to handle that, okay? So that's the only two negative things that I can think about. Now, I guess the only other negative thing I can think about is that, guys, whenever you buy property to hold, okay, it costs money, dude. You still have rental property, there's vacancies, you have to run ads, AC breaks, there's leaks in the roof. Shit happens, dude. So you're gonna have to have moolah, you're gonna have dinero, you're gonna have to have money, guys. So just because you could buy a property subject to, doesn't mean that, just because you could buy it with no money, doesn't mean that you're not gonna need to have money to hold on to that property, because that's where the major mistake is. People think just because you could buy a property with no credit, with no money, you don't have to have money. No, you're gonna have to have money if you own rental property. So unless you're buying this property just for your own home, which is a great way to own property, you need to have some money if you want to own rental properties. And that's a disclaimer I want to make sure you guys understand, because at first, I was like, oh, cool. I didn't really understand that the more properties I own, the more responsibility there are from things breaking, renters not paying, etc., guys. So I just went over the good and the bad. The good, there's so much shit, and the bad is so little, okay? Which I think that, in my mind, I love subject twos, and I'm a black belt in subject two. That's what I love to do, because I'm a buy and hold guy. I love buying properties. I don't have to ask the banker. I can save my cash and just use pre-existing financing, okay? So subject twos, in my mind, is a great thing. And another good question to note is subject to legal, guys? Is this a legal thing, or is Mike, doing something illegal? And I have a YouTube video on my channel that talks about it subject to legal. I go really in depth in it. I show you a HUD-1, the number where it says on a HUD-1 where it says buying property subject to, just in the last this 6 months, I've closed multiple deals that are subject to. About to close another deal hopefully tomorrow or next day. It's a subject to. So guys, subject to's work. People could refinance, people could buy them, you go to the title company, they'll do all the paperwork for you, the closing happens. So it's 100% legal. There's not that much information about it. I don't know if the realtors don't want you to know, if the lenders don't want you to know, I don't know. But people want you to herd you into the herd, which is go sign up, put your credit up, put your fucking 10, 20% down, etc. Where this strategy, you find people that have already gone to a herd and they don't want the trap anymore, and you just come in there and massage those deals and make money for yourself and create a win-win for them, the seller, and get them out of this tough situation where they can't deal with it anymore. Okay, so far I answered what is the subject to. The good and the bad about subject to is the subject to legal. Okay, and I think I talked about what are the benefits, which is the good and the bad, and there's tons of benefits of owning subject twos. Okay. Now, the next question is, how do you find sellers that are willing to sell their home subject to? And that's a really good question, guys. And I have a video on my YouTube channel that talks about 2 videos. One is 42 ways to find free or almost free motivated sellers. And I show you 42 ways that I personally have used in the past and currently using to find motivated sellers. I mean, in here, there's a lot of shit for free, dude. It doesn't cost $1. You just got to put sweat equity in, okay? Then I have another video that talks about 38 ways to find motivated sellers. In this strategy, the 38 ways, you're gonna need some money. But if you don't have any money, stick with the 42, do deals, save your money, and then come into the 38s, guys. So now I talked about how to find motivated sellers, okay? Now, the only thing I didn't explain is what is a motivated seller, guys, because the average person that's going to list their home with a realtor, you're not going to be able to convince them to sell it this way. We only deal with what I call motivated sellers. And a motivated seller is somebody that has to sell, guys. A motivated is somebody that has a financial problem or an emotional problem. Okay, a financial problem is, for example, I lost my job and I can't make the payments. A financial problem may be, hey, I'm behind on my payments. A financial problem may be, hey, I got a job transfer. A financial problem may be, hey, I got shortness in my paycheck. So many other different things. And an emotional problem might be, hey, I just got divorced and I don't want to deal with this property anymore. An emotional problem might be, hey, I just had a death in the family and lost my parents left there, I don't want to fuck with this property anymore. Okay, or it could be a combination of both. For example, the lady got divorced, now she can't afford the house. So motivated sellers can be emotional or financial, or it could be a combination, like a hybrid. Okay, but I've met a lot of motivated sellers that have a lot of fucking money in the bank. They just were emotionally motivated. So don't get confused by just because they're motivated they don't have any money, dude. Okay, I seen people with 6 figures just they want to deal with the shit. Okay, so don't confuse that. All right, your job is to ask my seller questionnaire forms. If you don't have my seller questionnaire forms, guys, I definitely highly recommend download it. Yeah, it's $50, dude. Okay, but guys, come on. If you're sweating $50, you're not gonna be able to do deals because I give you my trade secrets. I have lines in there that if you ask the seller, he or she'll let you know if they're willing to do a term, so they're willing to do a subject to, they're willing to carry the note. I have ways to help you structure your deals there. So, man, it's exactly what I use for my business, and I have it out there. I have free training videos that teaches you to do it. I'm highly a believer of it because for all my students that get deals, I look at that sheet, and just from looking at that sheet, I help them structure deals because everything you fucking need is right there, dude. Plus, what to say to the seller, okay? What probing questions to ask. It's a killer script, no sales pitch, guys. So your job is when you meet a motivated seller is to ask them the seller questionnaire form, gauge their motivation, gather a lot of information, and then look at the paperwork that I have for you and then figure a way how to structure a deal using one of the 7 ways of doing owner financing. Like I said, there's 7 different ways. It's subject to is one way, guys. Okay, now, who can use a subject to deals? Okay, Now, I'm a buy and hold guy, and I love subject to. But I've done subject twos for fix and flip. So, let's say the seller, let's say the house is worth 100. The seller wants 30K cash for it. There's $20,000 in repairs, so there's 50,000. Instead of paying the seller the 30 cash, you could do a subject to. If let's say their loan is 15 or the loan is 30 or whatever, you could just make their monthly payments and then tell the seller you're going to cash them out after you sell their home, because you're going to put all the money into the repairs. Or you could do what I call the American dream, where in the same exact equation, the seller owes 30, 20 in repairs, there's 50,000 in equity, the home's worth 100, and you can tell the seller, look, seller, why don't I put the money into the rehab? I'll market the property and I'll sell it for top dollars. Whatever we get left over, I'm gonna give you your first 30 for the property, 21 into the rehab. Whatever's left over, let's say 50, we're gonna split it 50-50 or 40-60 or whatever, guys, okay? Or you could structure it where you just make the payments, for example, interest payments only to the seller. He carries the note for maybe a couple of months till you sell the property. I mean, you could do it so many fucking different ways. You could do principal only payments. You could do 0% interest. So you could do whatever the fuck you could imagine you can do. Where if you go with the private money, you can't do that. If you go with the hard money, you're probably not going to be able to do that. If you go with a conventional, you're definitely not going to be able to do that, guys. Man, that was a long one, dude. So now, how do you structure deals? Dude, I have tons of videos on my YouTube channel. So definitely recommend going out there and watching it. Now, I love subject twos. If you guys have subject twos, I don't care if it's in California, in Florida, wherever it is, hit me up, bring me your deals. I love to buy them, okay? Now, and with subject to deals, you could buy houses with significant equity subject to. It doesn't have to just be like the shitty deals. I bought houses that 50 cents, 60 cents on the dollars. Subject to, because the seller was motivated, okay? So go out there and hustle and bustle. Don't take no for an answer. Fucking naysayer, and believe in yourself, guys. If you have the thought in your mind that you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a real estate investor, that seed of greatness was planted to you by the Creator. So your fucking job is to go out there, work for free, grind every fucking day till you reach your goal. And trust me, it's fucking worth it, because when you reach your fucking goal, you're gonna impact other people, you're gonna change other people. And the more you're able to change this one person, this other person, this another person, we're gonna have a world of world peace, where we don't have to fucking fight, and we don't have to kill each other, and we don't have to kill the fucking planet, and we could actually all do what we love instead of work as a fucking job and say yes sir, no master. Guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like it, please like, please share, please comment. Go out there and hustle and bustle. Don't take no for an answer. See you later, gang.